everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Mike Tellerino. I am the CEO of K9 for Veterans. Tonight I have the honor of having Denise Williams, which is the president of the Illinois Gold Star Moms for Illinois. And we have Dan Miller, who is the spokesperson for the Wounded Warrior Project. I'd like to thank you both for coming today and joining our show.
Thanks for having me.
Denise, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Gold Star Moms and how you started with them?
Well, the American Gold Star Mothers is a veteran service organization that was chartered in 1928. It is the organization of mothers who have lost a child because of their decision to put on this nation's uniform. Mm-hmm. We all choose to be in service. We are basically picking up our child's legacy of service and carrying on their commitment to their fellow brothers and sisters.
You said something, when we were speaking on the phone, you said something that I found really interesting. It's a commitment because your son isn't here to keep that commitment going to the soldiers that are here.
Exactly. Well, the way I try to explain it, soldiers, everyone who serves, takes two oaths. The first, you raise your right hand and say, I swear to protect and defend Constitution against all enemies. Right. There's a second oath. It's the private one, the sacred and quiet one that you make to each other, to take care of each other, to have each other's back. And, hey man, worst case scenario, take care of my family.
Right. I found that really heartwarming.
Our sons and daughters aren't here to hold up their end of the bargain. Right. So we carry on their oath for them as they would if they were here. Right. We also stand so that they see we are here, we are standing, and it's to tell the veterans or the warriors on the other side, your end of the bargain is upheld.
Your organization is awesome. I mean, there's so many good things that you do for our veterans and the family of the veterans. Dan, when I read your bio and stuff going over for tonight's show, something that really caught my attention, you were on a bus. Why don't you tell us how that came about, how you came about working for the Wounded Warrior Project itself?
Well, I was what we call an alumni. I had joined Wounded Warrior Project several years after getting out of, coming off of my last combat tour.
You're a combat veteran.
Yes, I did 3 combat tours in Iraq. In the Marine Infantry, and I saw a lot and did a lot, and lost a lot of good Marines, good friends, and so I was originally what we call in Wounded Warrior Project an alumni. Alumni is someone that has joined Wounded Warrior Project who's a veteran, and they began to help me kind of find my new normal. Right. And eventually it came to the point where, they offered me employment, and they wanted me to become a warrior spokesperson. And honestly, at the time, I didn't know if I could do it. Right. I didn't know if I had the ability to stand in front of people and share my story.
It's got to take a lot.
It does, but, at the same time, I look at it as a way to heal.
And help others.
Yes.
Let them know there's help out there for them.
Absolutely. It heals me to talk about it. And the more speeches I do, the more speaking engagements I'm involved in, the more people I meet. Sure. A lot of networking goes on, and then that way I have more resources to help my fellow veterans.
Well, you do a lot with Wendy as well, and the Gold Star Moms.
Absolutely.
I mean, between the two of your groups, I mean, you really do some amazing things.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're there for the veterans, you're there for the families of the veterans. Denise, what can you say about your organization that people would really get an understanding for what your purpose is?
The true purpose of the organization is we take care of those who come home. In doing so, back in 1918, the moms that first started this organization...
So this goes back that far?
Yes. We received the Congressional Charter in 1928, but the moms had been organized themselves starting in 1918 at Walter Reed Hospital while they were looking for their sons
Right.
they started sitting and talking with and communicating with, writing letters for and with the soldiers that were there. They understood that this was not their son, but it was somebody's son.
Right.
Somebody who needed their mom, somebody whose mom couldn't be there. So they stepped in into that surrogate role. And they discovered that in taking care of those who come home, we find a small measure of peace for
Right.
our hearts.
Right.
In the camaraderie
It's a
we
healing
have
thing
with
for
each
you as
other.
well?
Very much. No one understands the loss, the unique, impossible
I don't think
mixture
anybody
of
can.
pain and pride
No.
that you can't really describe, except another mom who has experienced it. And then when we stand together and we see these young boys coming home, and it doesn't matter if this young boy is a 70-some-year-old Vietnam veteran.
Right.
The moment he's talking to me, I see the 19-year-old kid
That left. Yeah.
who's thinking about the guy
Sure.
who made Memorial Day personal for him. And he's looking at me not as PFC Andrew Meary's mom, but he's looking at me as his buddy's mom. And he's 70-some years old, but in that moment he's 19. And what we're able to do for them is to reassure them, to remind them what they may not have ever been told, but it's a reminder because it's a fact. We're not angry, we're not resentful. We are happy for everyone who comes home. Everyone should come home.
Right.
But never, never do we feel or do we think even, truly think. Thought never crosses our minds that it should have been someone else.
Right.
It should have been no one.
Right. Exactly.
And we're
that's
not
true.
angry or upset or resentful that this guy does come home. This girl does come home and start a life. That's
mean-
what's supposed to happen, and we want to celebrate that. Just as my son, if he were here, would be celebrating it with you,
Right.
and you would be celebrating for him.
I just find it so amazing that a group as yours can go out and do so much good for the families that otherwise would be going through this alone.
As
know.
I said, it's somebody once asked me, how is a military death different than any other death? And the short answer is there's no other form of death that has a national holiday.
Right.
And while on the one hand that seems like, well, that's great because you have that recognition,
Right.
on the other hand, you have this very public reminder of the worst moment of your life. So it's both helpful and hurtful. It's both painful and a moment of pride.
Yeah. Dan, the Wounded Warrior Project is probably one of the best organizations out there that are physically helping the veterans.
Yes.
Your organization does so much for so many. To be a part of that's got to be a great feeling.
Oh, absolutely. As I said, when I got hired by Wounded Warrior Project, and they taught me how to become a public speaker, it opened my eyes to the other side.
Have you ever done it before, public speaking?
No, not in the military. I had taught classes. Yes, I taught classes to other Marines, but I had never, stood on a podium or on a stage on a podium in front of 1,000 people, and it allowed me to see the other side, the incredible hard work that the 600 plus employees of Wounded Warrior Project put
Amazing.
in on a daily basis. And interestingly enough, a lot of people don't realize the majority of the employees at Wounded Warrior Project they were never in the military. They've come from college or from, a professional sector, a different job, but they all have the same passion. We all have the same passion. Our mission is to honor and empower our nation's warriors, and everybody has that cultural
Right.
fit to do it and to drive forward and just to help as many people as we possibly can.
I know we work with the Wounded Warrior Project through K9 for Veterans.
Correct.
When you have a veteran that needs a service dog, you have them contact us. And everyone that I spoke to can't say enough about what the Wounded Warrior Project has done for them. It's just an amazing gift that you give to these guys that come home.
Thank you.
You do such a variety of things for them, not just you don't focus on one thing, you're all over the board with it.
Oh, absolutely. We have multiple programs, many of which I've participated in. And, you alluded to a veteran, a warrior might come in and, we find out the need that, he needs a service dog. Well, Wounded Warrior Project, we're not handing out service dogs, but
Right.
we partner with so many other organizations, yours being one of them, that we have that good relationship. And
Sure.
we know that we can take that warrior and turn him over to you, to your organization, and he's going to be taken care of, or she's going to be taken care of, and she's going to get the services that she needs. And as I said, we have multiple programs. One of the bigger ones is our combat stress recovery program. In that, there's different sub-programs. Soldier Ride, we bring veterans together to ride across the nation. Project Odyssey, we bring veterans, both male and female, in separate groups and couples. We bring them out for 4 or 5 day odysseys. It's the same goal, is to help our nation's warriors, find their new normal and to move forward.
Right. Denise, you were at our PTSD Memorial in Shanahan.
Yes.
And I was so grateful to have you there to share your story about, and now we're in PTSD Awareness Month, this
Yes.
June. What do you have to say for the mothers that have lost someone and not getting the help that they need? What would you recommend for them?
Come out, find us, connect with us. Our, unfortunately, membership grows. We are an organization that daily prays for no new members.
Sure.
But we're here. For us, if you lost your child because of your child's decision to put on this nation's uniform,
Right.
you're one of us. You're our sister. We understand. I think that there has been this disconnect, this idea of, because the name is American Gold Star Mothers. It's the name because it's the name for the past 91 years. But the definition of Gold Star for us is just simply that. If you lost your child because of their decision to serve,
I
that
can't
doesn't
think of a
matter.
greater loss.
It doesn't matter when they served. It doesn't matter where they served. If you lose your child because of PTSD from their service,
That's amazing.
it's the same loss. It's that same impossible mixture of pain
A loss
and
is a
pride.
loss, regardless of.
And it has to be,
Yeah.
it has to be dealt with, it has to be addressed, and they're truly the best way to do it. I mean, 91 years ago, 100 years ago, 1918, these women understood intuitively that being together, just simply being together, working on a common goal,
group.
helped. Now we've got the terminology, there's support groups for everything. We're not the group that's going to sit around and hold each other's hands and cry and feel sorry for ourselves.
Sure.
Do we cry? Of course. We also laugh as we're crying.
Right.
And we make all kinds of silly and strange comments that anybody else
So that's where the
hearing it would
support
be.
comes in at
Well, it's
for each other.
it's the support in that everybody in the room gets it. Everybody understands what you're feeling because we've all felt it. And if it's a year ago, if it's 8 years ago, like me, it never ends.
Do you have to have lost a child in the military to be a part of the Gold Star Moms?
They have to have died from their service. So whether they're active duty, whether they're veteran, combat, in training, it does not matter. But military service is absolutely required. That is the point of it, because it is a different circumstance. It colors the grief differently.
Right. Dan, for PTSD Awareness Month, is the Wounded Warrior Project doing anything special, or are they?
Well, with PTSD and Wounded Warrior Project, it's a continuous. It's not just this month.
Well, no, I understand it. So.
Right. I think, we're heightening the awareness, as we always do. I've lost several friends to PTSD, and I want to say something about the monument as well. You know, I was out there that day, and,
Right.
and I went back once and on my own, and it's an incredible place, and it was such an incredible thing that you've done to put that up, to help put it up. And
Thank you.
it means so much to me, and I know it means so much to many other people. And, you know, we're going to continue at Wounded Warrior Project to push as hard as we can to help as many people as we can to get them the help, the attention that they need, so that they understand, that people understand that, you know, suicide, post-traumatic stress disorder, there's a way out.
There is.
You're
is.
never completely alone, and there is a way
You
out.
need to talk. You
Correct.
need to-
Communication is the key.
Exactly, is the key to it.
Absolutely.
For a veteran returning home, a lot of them don't like to ask for help, you know, or even admit that they have PTSD or that they have an issue with it.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things they should look for if they know someone who's returning home from serving? What are some of the signs that they should look for to push them to get that help that they need?
I'll go off personal experience. You know, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I admit that. Years ago, I would never have admitted it because, sadly enough, there's a stigmatism that goes with it.
Exactly.
If you have a loved one or you know someone and they start to isolate themselves, you know, they almost become antisocial.
Sure.
You know, they're not involving themselves in their family. They're not leaving the house. They might not be able to hold a job. Their mood is, you know, up and down all over the place. These are signs that someone, you know,
Right.
could very well have post-traumatic stress disorder. And communication is the key. And, you know, sometimes people don't want to push people. We're afraid to do that. We don't want to get too far into someone
Right.
else's business. But sometimes that's what's needed. And you need to talk to
Right.
that person. You know, it's almost as if it were like an intervention.
Right.
And you need to show that person that you love them and you care about them. You need to show that person that they're not alone. And you need to show that person that there is help.
Right.
That they can, and you're going to be
You're
there
right.
with them.
You're so right.
You're going to be right there with them all the way. I mean, that is what saved me. I realized I was not alone. I realized people were here to help me.
But you turned that around, and by you doing what you're doing now and educating people by coming out and speaking to these groups, I mean, that's a huge help. I mean, I know you had people just in awe when you were speaking at our memorial. If somebody really wanted to reach out and have someone like you speak, how would they?
It's very easy. You can contact Wounded Warrior Project. I'm part of our Warrior Speak team. You go to our website, which is woundedwarriorproject.org, and there's a section on there. It's called What We Do, and there's a subsection, a drop-down box. It says Warrior Speak, and it explains what Warrior Speak is. There are 7 of us for the country, and you can request a speaker for your event. And, you know, it's free of charge. We will come out as long as, you know, we're not already booked, and we'll come out and speak.
You know, you gave an amazing speech that day. I mean, you had
Thank you.
people just really intent on listening to your story and stuff. Denise, do you have any upcoming projects that we're doing for the Gold Star Moms? Any events coming up?
Yes, we have a couple things right now. We just launched a campaign, a fundraising campaign, where our goal is $25,000. This is for the Department of Illinois, meaning everything is... American Gold Star Mothers is a little bit different from some organizations in that every penny that we raise goes to veterans. We don't support Gold Stars. We don't do anything for Gold Stars except offer the opportunity of the camaraderie and the opportunity to be in service
Right.
and to do something. So when we raise monies, this is one of the few times that you can be sure that every penny is going to go towards, you know, what you're raising the money for. So everything goes towards veterans. The current campaign, right now we've just opened the campaign, you know, and asking for donations and receiving donations. And the next phase is we're going to open it up and ask for nominations for Illinois-based local veterans organizations that everyone who's donated, everybody that's in the community would like to receive some of these funds.
Right.
And then our organization will work with and see where we can do it, but everything will be contained right here.
So it'll be held here in Illinois.
It's going to be held here in
What's
Illinois.
collected here will stay here.
Exactly. And this
That's
is
good.
a specific campaign. Normally, everything's on a national scale. Nationally, there's quite a few things going on. Tomorrow American Gold Star Mothers does not hold events itself per se. Thankfully, there aren't as many of us as there once was. 400,000 killed in World War II.
Terrible.
58,000 in Vietnam. We don't have those kinds of numbers, thankfully. But it means that we have to run our mission different. We used to send a cohort of 20 mothers to the VA hospitals to help. We don't have 20 mothers to send for that, so we partner with other organizations like K9s, like Wounded Warrior Project, nationally and locally. So Saturday is the Illinois Motorcycle Freedom Run.
Which I'm going to.
So am I.
And we're
Are you
there.
gonna be there?
Absolutely.
Every
Awesome.
year. And that's a big event. Another big event that's not well known is Veteran and Gold Star Family Day at the State Fair in Springfield. And there's a second state fair in DuQuoin.
Okay.
So, covers all of Illinois. We've got the Gold Star Mothers in Illinois. Our thing has been, we make lemonade. So we literally have this amazing recipe. One of the moms starts with the lemons, boils it down, and
Okay.
makes homemade lemonade. And then we go to ruck
That's
marches,
awesome.
veterans. We have a veteran softball tournament on July 17th at Beverly Park. We have Bowman's Ruck, which is all of Illinois' Fall, and it goes from the Wall in Marseille and starts and ends at the Wall in Marseille. We'll be there with our lemonade stand, and we have a couple of other
That's
opportunities
great.
over the summer with our lemonade stand.
Sure.
And it's great because, as you were saying, getting veterans to come home and talk, we're easy to talk to. We're mom, but we're not their mom.
Right.
We're family, but we're not their family. So there's a
So the
built-in
dialogue is
trust.
easier then.
Exactly. And, everybody goes to mom because mom doesn't judge.
Right.
And that's an absolute. We don't judge.
That's so incredible. It really is.
Very true.
Dan, how long have you been, you've been with them how long, the Wounded Warrior Project?
I joined Wounded Warrior Project as we call it, on the bus as a teammate, January of 2016.
2016, so you've been there a couple
A
of years
little over
now.
3 years, yes.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to
Yeah.
keep going as long as I can.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Do you have, Wounded Warrior have anything big coming up that you'd like to get out there?
We don't have anything real big right here in the Chicagoland area per se. We have our offices downtown Chicago, and it's very easy to get there. And we do, our doors are open to veterans if they're interested in Wounded Warrior Project. If they want to get involved, they can. They can also do that through our website. The Air and Water Show is coming up, and every year we do take a group of our warriors to the Air and Water Show. And our alumni team, we always have events for the veterans, for the warriors. But it takes you to get up and get involved in Wounded Warrior Project, and then we can get you involved in these events.
That's amazing what you guys do. Again, I mean, I've heard so many stories from guys that had called us that you had referred to us and said, I don't know what I would have done without the Wounded Warrior Project.
I know that
helped
feeling.
me. I'm seriously. They say they've helped me in every aspect of my life. They don't single in on just one thing. They just do a whole host of things for them.
I know that feeling personally, and
I
they
know.
do.
Well, you're a prodigy of it. I mean, you're right there with it.
Yes, sir.
Denise, what would you like to say to the mothers that lost a child who aren't part of the Gold Star Rounds yet? What would you say to them to get them involved with you?
Start out, Department of Illinois has a strong Facebook presence. See us on Facebook. We've got our donate button and all of that stuff going there too. But get on there. Get on Facebook. Connect.
Take that first step.
Come out to one of our meetings. Talk to us. Find out what it is that we're doing. Just simply being in the room with everybody else who understands and finding something to do. Grief is love that has nowhere to go. And it turns into this, it's like the hamster on the wheel, spinning and spinning and spinning.
Right.
You need to do something with that energy. That's what we do.
Well, to be able to share your grief with somebody else who's been through the same tragedy, and I don't think anybody can say, oh, I know how you feel, because no parent should ever lose a child.
Yeah, it violates the natural order of
It,
life.
yeah, it just should never happen. So for someone to say, oh, I know what you know, you don't know what I'm feeling. But when you're together as a group, you have the same, I guess, you share the same loss, you know the same feelings. So together, you have a bonding process because you did share that same loss.
Yep, you can look across the room, we
Right.
can look at each other, and without saying a word, we
Sure,
get it. And
I
we
know.
know what the other is feeling. And one of the things that, Dan had mentioned, this is a problem that veterans come home and have, this issue of isolating. So do a lot of families. They
Right.
isolate. Well, that's not healthy. That's not good for
Right, no.
anybody. And being around those who understand
Right.
intuitively,
It's gotta help.
implicitly,
It's got to really help.
is very, very important.
Dan, being with the Wounded Warrior Project now yourself, if a veteran comes home and he's struggling, how does Wounded Warrior reach out to these veterans?
Well, I mean, obviously, we have our TV commercials.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's all about that communication. It's all about, with our alumni, the alumni that we have involved already, we do these events and we get out on the street and we look for veterans. Every time I speak, every city I go to, if I run into someone, and I always do, if I run into a veteran that needs help,
Yeah.
I offer my help and I offer Wounded Warrior Project's help.
Well, God bless you. And Denise, again, for your group to do what you do, help other families that are struggling with the loss of a child, thank God you're out there, because it's something that these families really need to connect with your organization. And Dan, being part of the Wounded Warrior Project, talking to our veterans firsthand that you refer to us, and everything that they have to say about the Wounded Warrior Project is all positive. Thank God there's organizations out there like the Wounded Warrior Project, the Gold Star Moms, to help our veterans coming home. I mean, it's what they need, and you're providing such a great service to the families, to the veterans. I mean, it's the best. It really is.
Thank you.
But
So-
it's not completely altruistic, because we get a lot out of it too.
Oh.
I mean, I know,
Yeah.
Dan, we get a lot out of it too.
I get that.
It helps us.
When we give a service dog to a veteran, 90 days down the road, we see the difference that dog makes in their life, and
It's amazing.
and the change in their personality. Yeah, we look back and say, yeah, this works. It's really a good
Exactly.
thing. But Dan Miller from the Wounded Warrior Project, I'd like to thank you so much for coming here tonight. It meant a lot to us. And Denise Williams, you're an amazing lady. What you do,
Thank you, Mike.
both of you are a great team.
Thank you.
Can't miss. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll be back the first Thursday, the second Thursday of every month. We look forward to seeing you again. And again, Gold Star Moms from Illinois, Dan Miller from the Wounded Warrior Project. Go to their websites, look them up. They're both an amazing group of people. Thank you.